I started this video once before and somebody called and it disrupted it, so I got myself in airplane mode. Anyway, I wanted to talk today about sobriety and being an artist. I was just saying that some people are able to handle alcohol and recreational drugs and still lead a productive life. I can't do that. Most actors, most artists I know can't do that. Whether it's because we're too sensitive or I'm not sure what it is, but anyway, I'll speak for myself. I can't do that, and I've been without drugs and alcohol for 13 years now, and it's been the best thing and the only thing that's enabled me to do anything that I've done in the past 13 years or anything that I'll do in the future. So that's just a fact. So my advice is, if you think you might drink too much, think you might smoke a little bit too much pot, have a harder drug problem, is to go get help in the 12-step groups, or seeing a psychiatrist, or or maybe you can stop. On your own. I couldn't stop on my own, or I didn't stop on my own, so I had to go to meetings, and get help. So I just think about all the great artists that have died early because of drugs and alcohol, and it goes from Michael Jackson to Elvis to Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Robin Williams, which shocked me, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. All those people throughout, those guys that supposedly had everything, were miserable and drug addicts. And then you think about all the careers that, I'll just speak about acting because that's what I do, but all the great actors who have had their careers so diminished because of drugs and alcohol. I'm thinking about Tom Sizemore, who is, to me, one of the best that ever was, but he just, I don't know if he's sober now. I hope he is, but his career just started doing, just a string of B movies over and over again, and he's one of the best that ever was, I think. Saving Private Ryan and other stuff. And then Michael Biehn, who was in the first Terminator. To me, one of the most charismatic actors that ever was. And I've worked with actors too who are great, who may or may not be sober, and I don't think they are, and their careers get diminished. And I guess I just wanted to dispel the idea of kind of the romantic artist drinking and being brilliant because he's drinking or smoking pot, and it's just not my experience of what I've seen or what it is with me. I've seen so many icons, major actors from the late 70s and 80s who are penniless. And I've seen them in Los Angeles. And it's been because of drugs. Absolutely been because of drugs and alcohol. So when you think about all the people who've died because of drugs and alcohol, the great artists, then you think about all the great artists whose careers have been terribly diminished. And then I think about all the artists whose lives, emotional lives, personal relationships, apart from their careers, have probably been negatively affected by drugs and alcohol. It's just not worth it. So, if you have a problem, or you think you might drink too much, or it's hard for you to stop, or you're like, why did I get drunk again and stuff, you may want to go to one of the 12-step meetings, the anonymous meetings, whether it's Alcoholics Anonymous, Marijuana Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, these things. I'm free of drugs and alcohol for 13 years, and it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And I have to stay active, in sobriety stuff, every week, and to maintain that. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say, was that, boy, drugs and alcohol, it gets almost all of them who do them. Rock stars, actors, painters, it gets almost all of them. And either they die of an overdose, they die early, their careers fade away, they break themselves financially. It's just not something I've ever seen someone be a huge success and be a drunk. Obviously not a huge success in their career, but definitely not a huge success in their personal life either. So I guess I'm just saying, do yourself a favor. The biggest favor you could ever do is if you think you might have a problem or dependency, or you can't stop when you want to stop. You say, well, I'm not going to drink for a year, and then you drink. Or I'm not going to smoke pot for 6 months, and then you smoke pot. Then try to seek some help and get this thing under control, and settled before your career takes off. Last thing I'll say is, just being in Los Angeles, I've seen the biggest stars that there are giving up alcohol and drugs. I've seen them, and I've seen them lose everything, and then I've seen them come back and stay sober, and one guy, and be some of the highest paid actors in Hollywood. So it's definitely the winning way, is to stay sober. It may not seem that way, but very few artists, in my experience, are able to handle alcohol and drugs to any extent. That's just my observation. So that would be my blessing to you, is that you, as if you have a problem, that you go get help and get it settled before your career takes off. Okay, thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed it. As they always say with these YouTube stuff, please subscribe and like. It does help. Okay, thanks a lot.